So, your problem right now, as are in these replays, I think, is that you are very sort of statically, almost like 95-5 or like 100-0 sometimes, of you're just always playing defensively in these. And the problem with that, and the reason that it should be a mix, is that it is very difficult. It's doable, I guess, but it's very hard to do the same thing for a really long time and not fall into patterns. Human beings are very bad at being random, right? There's tons of studies on this, right? And that's kind of, honestly, like, if they weren't, fighting games kind of wouldn't work as a genre. With that in mind, you can trick your opponent into thinking you're not falling into patterns by just having your pattern be very complicated. If you look at a 5-piece jigsaw puzzle, you can instantly, like, you can see the whole thing and instantly, like, you know, oh, this is a boat, right? But if you look at a, like, 10,000-piece jigsaw that takes, like, up an entire fucking wall, you have to kind of, like, look at it for a while before you can get the general, especially if it's, like, if you don't have all the pieces, right? If you're still trying to figure out how your opponent plays, right? You have to have a lot of those pieces or spend a lot of time before you can get that full picture and be like, oh, this is a Viking village, you know, enforcing the Dane law on like Northumberland or something, right? All right, folks, we are back. A little bit more replay review here. Yeah, we got a couple big bodies this time around. Got some Versusia and then some Vaseraga, so fun times. Black2, hello. Faith, hello. Finished some homework, got back, time to spare before I head out to the bracket. I'm gonna chill here for about 30 minutes. Okay, well, hello, man. Nice to have you here. Good luck with the bracket. But yeah, so Azur, hello. It's the Azerton here. Hello, Azerton. Got two replays, things I could have done much better on offense and defense, but here I'm specifically asking about neutral. It's called Confused on How to Approach. Okay. How do I approach these two kinds of players? I know there's always the argument of aggressor versus defender. It's the thing that I'm always talking about, right? But it really feels like if they win, I just play defender, and when I try to get aggressor, I get owned. If they win, it feels like they win if I just play defender, sorry. And when I try to be the aggressor, I get owned. Interesting. The Beatrix in particular really threw me for a loop, because I didn't expect that character of all things to sit back and throw fireballs. Yeah, that's interesting. I think the Lucy was just more familiar with Versusia than I was with Lucilius, so I'd like help there too. Also, I purposely left out the match I won against Lucilius, mainly because my upload speed is kind of cheeks, but also like you pointed out more where I was doing wrong rather than what I was doing right. I mean, you can be winning games and still be making mistakes, but sure, I get the idea. Been meaning to pick up Charlotta for a while. She looks fun. She was definitely pretty high on my list of characters to get to master back when I was making all the decisions. So like, she seems fun. She's not very good, I don't think, but she seems fun. Anyway, also I've gotten back to being wired recently, so I hope to join more brackets, improve more in these settings. To get a bit sentimental, I really do love this game and I want to play it as much as I can. Playing ranked is just maddening at times, and casuals with friends while fun can get boring if that's all you're doing. I hope now there won't be any times where I take unintentional breaks from sudden burnout. Aw, thanks, Azur. Azur's great. Azur's been around for a long time. We're watching some of their older replay reviews when the backlog was even bigger, and they were on Zoe, but now here they are on Versusia, which is the character they've been playing since she dropped, basically, as far as I'm aware. Wired gang, yep. Do your best to say it. Just makes, you know, if you can, it makes everyone's life a little bit easier usually if you're wired, including yourself, assuming it's feasible for you. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's still some of the greatest gaming memes. I do enjoy it for sure. Okay, so let's see. This is I think this is two different sets. So specifically about neutral, playing neutral against presumably defensive characters, right? Playing neutral. The Beatrix, defensive Beatrix, is funny, but I wish I could be. If it's not feasible, then it's not feasible, right? But yeah, it definitely does make quite a big difference in the consistency of the connections, usually. BBW replays, that's the word for it, right? Technically, in some ways. Yeah, so Azur has asked us to hyper-focus in on neutral here, so I will do my best. Versusia, I can help here? Yeah, sure thing. Yeah, character specifics is not usually where I really thrive, unless it's a character that I play, or a character I just happen to know a lot about. But yeah, usually it's I try to go from a more fundamental, high-level view. But if there's any Versusia specifics that you guys spot here that you think are helpful to point out, I'll read out your message and we can see. But yeah, so neutral in particular, neutral against people who are trying to wall you out and play defensive. We'll see how this goes. So I'm not going to talk about aggressor defender because if you don't know what Azur is referring to there, I kind of think like a nice layer one way to look at a matchup is who wants to be the person closing space and who wants to be the person holding space. It's not always the case that is super well defined, but it's a pretty decent, like 80% of the time, it works out pretty decently. It's like a layer one way to look at things. what Azure is saying though here is that despite what you might expect, for example, but with that, for example, you might expect that Beatrix would try and rush down. You know, Beatrix would be the aggressor in this matchup because Versusia can interact better from like full screen and long range than Beatrix can. So Beatrix wants to get to the spot on the screen where she can play the game better than Versusia, aka right in her face. But here, she's saying that actually the Beatrix is playing super defensive. So we're gonna ignore that for a second. As always, though, with replay reviews. One, by the way, if you want to come by and hang out on the stream, you'll be probably watching this on. If you're a VOD watcher, you're probably watching this like 2 weeks after it actually came out. So if you want to come by and be up to date, you know, stream links in the description there for the Twitch, and the YouTube links go up every time I go live too. But two, we're gonna pause. Well, I'm not gonna try and pause too much, but like we're going to try and analyze the moments where Azure gets hit or when they lose their turn, right? Because again, if you never get hit and you never lose your turn, you will never lose. You just win by default. So I know there's a lot of preamble there, but you know, there's also a long message. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so yeah, so far, interesting. I mean, so far this Beatrix does not seem super defensive. We'll see. We'll see if it switches up to that at some point. That's a pretty big tool there right away, right? Good punish, finds the 2L, sure. I wonder when this, because I mean, obviously it's way too early to tell anything, but so far the Beatrix seems to be a Beatrix for sure. Right, round start 6XL into like, you know, full screen riding free. We'll see. It's 8 minutes of gameplay, right? So, or at least it's 8 minutes of video. So okay, I mean, there's a little bit more patience there for sure. I do like you can use an Anitia almost like a fireball drive rush, right? Like this is like gigantic wall that you just put up, and then they kind of have to respect it, and you can run behind it, and it's good for Versusia too because her dash takes a while to rev up normally, but then once she gets up to speed, she tends to be a bit of a freight train. So I mean that's certainly a way if you just need to gap close. If you got the 50 meter, and if you don't have the 50 meter, you can build it by walking back and forth too, right? Interesting. I mean, yes, so far this Beatrix seems relatively, like, outside of that one corner interaction, they seem relatively aggressive, I'm not gonna lie to you. They're trying to do the spacing out thing with their offense in the corner, which I would actually probably argue isn't a great thing, because Versusia, kind of like on average, has bigger buttons, bigger mediums at least, than Beatrix does. Okay. Okay, DP, sure. Good text at the Aki way, too. I mean, see, so far so good, right? Again, I'm mostly trying to focus on the neutral situations, but I almost want to, like, reread Azure's message to see if I misunderstood something. You fireball for the knockdowns, they can run in, sure. Yup, out. Nice check there by the Beatrix, unfortunately. Yeah, they are playing a surprisingly, I mean, they're playing a pretty decent offense here too, I think. The Beatrix, I think, could probably spend a little bit more time in Azure's face, but we're not replay reviewing the Beatrix, okay? But it's like, I'm trying to figure out where the reason I'm looking at what the Beatrix is doing a lot more than what Azure is doing right now is just because I'm trying to figure out when Azure says I need help playing this type of player, I'm trying to figure out what exactly she means by that, and I'm not certain so far. Because this type of player seems like, I mean, they seem like maybe slightly less W key than like your average Beatrix, but Beatrix can check Versusia with her own 2-2 moves if they expect the Versusia will run up behind it. Riding free will go under Anitia, that's true. That's a fair point. That's a fair point. You always got to respect ball there. You can roll Anitia, which means you can riding free it as well. That's a good point. It's the follow-up to the pillar is the one where she like appears right on your face and is plus on block, like stomps down from the sky. That's the pillar follow-up, yes? Oh, they patched that out. If you wonder what the bug fixes in the Vikala patch were, by the way, like this, you see how the first U pillar puts them on combo limit, like that? And then you can do another U pillar, like this, and extends the combo, right? This is not, this you can't do this anymore. They patched this out on Belial U Fireball, on Versusia U pillar, a lot of stuff like that. What's going on, Suki? The follow-up to the pillar is the lightning strike, the orb is the stomp. Okay, yeah. I assume riding free outpaces pillar tracking, right? Probably. Oh, okay, yeah. Just didn't quite wash your tail. I mean, again, sorry, I'm like genuinely gonna like reread this real quick. They win if I just play defender, and when I try to be aggressor, I get owned. The Beatrix in particular really threw me through a loop because I didn't expect that character of all things to sit back and throw fireballs. Okay, I'm gonna keep watching just because maybe it does shift at some point as they get deeper into the set. But I mean, so far this Beatrix is Beatrixing. What's going on, Azure? Hello. We are in fact doing your replay here. Okay, sure. Could have gotten a bigger punish there, but, you know, sometimes you just panic when you see the throw whiff. Got something at least out of it. I was told my replay was on stream. That's right. We're looking at it right now. Whoever told you this was spitting facts. Yeah, so the only fireball to get the knockdown to then run in. More throws seem to be what the doctor prescribes. I'm not even talking. I'm trying to think about more so because Azure is specifically asking about the neutral here, right? So I'm trying to figure out what exactly the issue they're having is. Yeah, because I mean, you described the Beatrix as again surprising because you didn't expect him to play so defensively, basically sit there and throw fireballs. But I mean, I guess okay, here they're doing that a little bit more. But I think overall this Beatrix has just been like this. Oh, the only difference is they haven't like literally been running at you the entire time. It's a slightly more measured Beatrix than you might see sometimes. I wonder who. So true. Keep going for frame traps that are being blocked and losing their turn. Yeah, I mean we definitely could look at some more holistic stuff here too. But I'm just trying to get an idea of what's going on in the neutral here first, because that is what specifically got asked about. Oh, okay, little fake meaty. Not sure if that was intentional or not, but it did catch them off guard. They did block. They didn't preemptively brave counter or anything though. Unfortunately, they've been good about spot dodging those 6XLs, man. Good timing. Yeah, command grab. Unfortunate. At the time, I had only gone against Beatrix. I play like genuine madmen. Yeah, I mean, because yeah, this Beatrix is like they're a little bit like it's funny that this is what passes for patience for Beatrix players, right? Like this Beatrix is still spending most of the time dashing at you and or riding freeing at you and or DPing at you, right? But it's like every now and then they like walk back a little bit and throw a fireball, and it's like what a bastion of patience and human, you know, and human willpower. Like, yeah, I think. Okay, I think I'm gonna. That's how I felt for real, though. I think I'm gonna try and reframe a little bit how I've been looking at this so far, right? Yeah, interesting. Ow. The one thing I don't necessarily agree with is how fast they spend 236H and they don't have to. Is 236 the pillar? I don't know which yet, but if you're talking about the H pillar cooldown, then I agree. That shit is very important for Versusia in every matchup. We talked about that a little bit yesterday, too. Nice you in it, too. Okay, some stagger pressure. Mm-hmm. So I might have an idea of how to play certain matchups? Yeah. Okay, I mean, that last little bit, so this is like great, I think. Like, yeah, these last couple interactions are exactly how you play this, I think, right? When you want to play defensive, anyway. Like 2M is a fucking ridiculous button. Now I'm like S++2, and that was before the rank shade is probably a master, but I wanted to break. That's fine. That catch on the riding free though, kind of clean with it, man. I think I have the general like looking at what's happening for this. I'm gonna watch the match with the Lucilius first as well. But I think I'm already starting to form a bit of a general idea of what I want to talk about here. Or am I gonna break it? Again, yeah, unfortunately, listen, the backlog is getting smaller, but unfortunately, at this point, still, that was like a month ago. So it's very likely that like a lot of the stuff that I might say might not be super useful to you right now. But it may be helpful to people who are in your position, at the very least. People who are, you know, behind, like, further, or not quite as far along in their learning process as you are. And hopefully some of it is still, might still be useful to you, who knows. And hopefully once the backlog closes a bit, once the backlog closes a bit, hopefully we can actually get some more relevant, immediate advice. Hoping it sounds okay to say, but I feel as though Versusia seems to be playing more desperately these games, from what I see. Seems to be playing more desperately. That's an interesting little, that's like a deep emotional read there. What exactly do you mean by this, Mr. I guess? In the sense of like, if you want to elaborate on that, I'm down to hear you out, but it's always helpful to look back in either sense. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna watch this with Lucy very intently here because I want to see if there's a similar sort of idea in what I'm seeing. Okay, sure. So naturally, so again, a quick little thing, I guess, before I get started with Lucy. I was talking about how Versusia probably does want to play defensively in a lot of matchups. For example, with Beatrix, probably, right? But the problem with Lucy, and the reason he's a very big problem for a lot of zoners, which Versusia isn't really, but like a lot of zoners, a lot of these more like these slightly slower playing characters, right? Or even like characters like Catalina or Jita or things like this. And I've mentioned this a couple of different times before, is that the sort of slot that Lucy holds in this game right now is that he is sort of the ultimate defensive character. No one is going to win by waiting Lucy out, right? Slow playing Lucy is gonna get you, you know, boys love 5'd into death. So he tends to be a really big problem for those sorts of characters. Characters who are going to try normally to, like, you know, slow play you until they find a hit and then they go from there. If you do that, you know, his ass is just gonna, he's just gonna get blade level 5 and kill you before you're gonna get your, like, his win condition off that is way better than your win condition off that, right? Also, Salts, 6 months, man. Enjoy your blue brick, your continued support. What's going on, my goat? I feel like they're just a measure less patient than their opponent on the Beatrix set, and they felt compelled to do things. I don't know if that makes sense. I see the vibe you're trying to get. Okay, I see the idea you're trying to get across. So yeah, Lucilius, like, unfortunately, you know, you do have to kind of blue brick. Is it an NFT? Well, I mean, you can screenshot it, so I guess. But yeah, blue. With Lucilius, it's kind of tough, right? It's because, like, you kind of have to. Oh, nice little. You kind of have to play aggressive on him, even if your character is not really well suited to doing that. He's also a bit of a nightmare for, like, actual full pure zoners, because Tessera just, like, murders a lot of projectile zoning in a way that it doesn't do for just about anything else. Okay, nice little whiff punish here. But again, all this, very important to note, I guess, that all this aggressor defender stuff is assuming it's round start, full health, full resources, even playing field, right? When someone's, you know, suddenly when you have someone in the corner, or if you have them low on health, or if you have a brave point and health lead, or if the timer's running a little bit lower and you have health lead, like, a lot of those dynamics can shift on their head, right? That's something I don't say almost never enough, right? The aggressor defender stuff is very much assuming even playing field. Let's go from there, and also no read on your opponents. Let's go from there. That's what when I say it's a layer 1 way to look at the matchup. That's what I mean. Before any other more important information is established, what's, like, the basic game plan here? Okay, reversal super, sure. Another matchup where 236H is Versusia's most important button. Yeah, the pillar is her, like, best special, probably. It seems to be the most important thing she's got. Like, it feels that way fighting her as any character, basically. Like, as soon as pillar is gone, you go, oh. Like, if I were to make one of those, you know, top five best moves that a character has things, that I did for Vaseraga. If I did that for Versusia, the pillar, it feels like even without playing her, that shit will be on there somewhere. Sure. Does 623? Yeah, I think Samsara. She can't 6XL the Tessera, so I think, yeah. Or no, it's Nimbus. Sorry, yeah, Nimbus is her answer to Tessera, I think. Like Nimbus, yeah, because she can't. She's like one of 2 characters who can't just 6XL it, because their dash Ls go nowhere if you do them immediately like that. Hers and Voss are the 2 characters that have to find other answers to it. Voss kind of can, Versusia can't at all, so she has to find a different answer to Tessera. Yeah, and I think that 623L, from what I've heard, is that indeed. Well, it's unsafe. Interesting. Sure. This is not going to work, yeah. But now enough projectile invuln on that. Which one is Tessera? It's the teleports. You know, like the one, he either teleports right in front of you and explodes, or it teleports right in front of you and does nothing, or it teleports above you and, like, slams down and is plus on block. Tessera is his teleports when he disappears and reappears. Okay, so I think I'm starting to form a little bit of an idea here. Oh, what's your name here? Versusia's too big, I can't see. Oh, yeah, true. Yeah, your name was... So true. I'm a big fan of... I think that is, like, definitely one of the GOATs. If you want to talk about the best Versusias to ever do it, I mean, you got to bring into the conversation, I think. Like, it's just not... Yeah, I agree. I'm very much on the train that is a really good name. True, yeah. Oh, God, yeah, see, you see how, like, immediately, like, as soon as... it is funny to see, like, as soon as you spend H pillar, he just goes, it's my time to shine, baby. Like it is such a different, oh, nice reversal. It is such a different experience trying to fight Versusia when pillar isn't on cooldown or when it is on cooldown, right? Like the mindset just shifts immediately. It's a tough spot for you, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, that's a really tough spot. Even though you had the advantage, the fact that as you were punching him, you were beating him towards 50 meter when he could have just like instantly threatened you with death at any point, unless you hard called out spot dodge on your own pressure. It's not a good place to be. Okay, sure. Yeah, the overhead, there's a gap there, right? So that does give you a guaranteed opportunity to do something there, DP, super, whatever, if you see it coming. That's why it's very dangerous to auto combo into overhead on people with like 100 meter. If they see it coming enough to overhead block it, they might see it coming enough to super you, and it's guaranteed you're stuck. I mean, Tessera is definitely the Azure knows this now, but yeah, 6-2-3-ling some of these Tesseras is probably a very good idea. Just because Lucilius cannot be allowed to just get away with this in neutral. He's good enough without having an actual neutral skip. You can't allow him. At least let him spend 50 on you Fireball or something. A lot of times it's better to not use H-Pillar, yeah, because the threat of H-Pillar is so much more valuable than the knockdown from H-Pillar, it feels like. You gotta use it every now and then just to, like, you know, show them that you mean business, make them respect ball. But, overall, like, yes, like, holding on to it is so much more, it forces them to play so much more differently if they know what's up. Ooh, that's tough, okay. Yep. Okay, so is that... Yes, okay, so let me run something by you here, right? Let me, because again, obviously, yeah, there's stuff you could talk about with, you know, like, with the offense, Alfredo mentioned, like, you probably should do a little bit more throw, stuff like that. Like, fair enough, right? But, again, you specifically asked about neutral, right? And I think I want to focus in on that for now, right? Because this is also something that maybe might even still be useful even to like current day Azure, I'm not sure. But I think it is also something that as you start to move out of that sort of intermediate level of play and try to go higher, right? Like this is a decent way to look at things, for sure, right? Aggressor versus defender, but it really feels like they win if I just play defender, and when I try to be the aggressor, I get owned, right? Maybe you understood this when you wrote this sentence, but I kind of took note of how you wrote this and watching you play as well. It's important, unless you are like, there are very, very few characters. It's a framework, right? There are very few characters in the game that are almost always going to be doing one of these, only one of these. Ladiva is probably a good example of this. Ladiva is basically the attacker in every matchup, right? There's no matchup where Ladiva sits back and tries to, because she has the worst neutral in the game. And she has, you know, horrible defense, no full screen options. Ladiva is constantly trying to close distance because everyone is better at that mid-range and at that long range than she is. With that in mind, that's like, and like maybe, I don't know, man, maybe like Vikala is, or Fairy probably, is like the, even the zoner is all, maybe Fairy is like the character that is most going to want to constantly be the defender. With that said though, almost everyone in the middle, even within the same matchup. The part in the post where I mentioned not taking an unintentional break, lol, LMAO even, so true. Deathless Near, fair enough. Does Deathless Near is better? No, Deathless Near is not a better neutral than Ladiva, I don't think. Yeah, no. The jump scare neutral skips from Ladiva are a little bit too good for that, to be considered, I think. But anyway. How do I phrase this in a way that makes sense? You are, in fact, something I noticed in the Beatrix, in the Beatrix game, and then even more so, actually, in the Lucilius game, you are very much, like, thinking, okay, am I going to play defensively, or am I going to play offensively? And then you just stick to it. And that is incorrect. You should... Every character should be... How do I... So with Visual yesterday, right? He was going... all in. Uno is a great example of a character that can mix it up, right? Because he's very well rounded. So he was fighting a Vera, I think, and he was playing super rush down aggressive Uno all the time. And what I told him is, I said, I think you should play a little bit more defensive, but I didn't say just play defensive. I was like, you know, maybe like a 60-40 split of like, you know, most of the time play defensive, but then like, you know, a good amount of the time still like play your crazy ass rush down shit because you're an aggressive player. That's what you want to do, right? The point being that there's a mix there. For almost every character in almost every situation, it's going to be a mix. Yes. If you're the defender in the matchup, part of the reason I posted the Lucy replay is because I had no idea what role I was supposed to have in that matchup. Yeah, Lucy's tough because Lucy, your character overall probably wants to play a little bit more of that sort of defensive game. And when I say defensive, again, I want to clarify this because it's people go, oh, defensive, but then when they hit me, they start rushing me down. Defensive means, yeah, like, play defensive until you punish them for trying to get in, overextend, and then every character becomes rushed down at that point, right? Because everyone loves having plus frames and a knockdown on you. There's even, Fairy and Matera have, like, mix. Well, Fairy does. Matera has, like, really strong pressure. Everyone, once they get the hits, they're gonna want to go in. So when I say defensive, I mean until you get the hit. But yeah, so it's a mix, right? Lucy's tough because Versusia probably wants to have that mix be more heavily weighted towards defense pretty often, but Lucy forces you to weight that much more aggressively. Because if you're heavily weighted towards defense against Lucy most of the time, what's just going to happen is you're going to get Blade level 5, he's going to go to Boys level 5, and you're going to die. So, your problem right now, as are in these replays, I think, is that you are very sort of statically, almost like 95-5 or like 100-0 sometimes, of you're just always playing defensively in these. And the problem with that, and the reason that it should be a mix, is that it is very difficult. It's doable, I guess, but it's very hard to do the same thing for a really long time and not fall into patterns, right? Everyone is going to act. Human beings are very bad at being random. Right? There's tons of studies on this, right? If you ask like 100 people to name a number from 1 to 100, I think it's not at all like a normal it's not at all like a random distribution, right? Like it is very like there are very much numbers that just come up. Human beings are bad at being random, and that's kind of honestly like if they weren't, fighting games kind of wouldn't work as a genre. Right, like the core conceit of fighting games is that people can be conditioned to do things, and people will fall into patterns. And 37, I think, unironically, is one of the more. I think I saw a graph like this once. Maybe I'm getting gaslit because you just like put it in there. But I think 37 is funny enough one of the more common numbers that gets said. Okay, so I think that was a self-report that you are human indeed. You just passed the captcha. But. Yeah, so fighting games are kind of based on the central conceit that you can condition your opponents and force them to fall into patterns and adapt to their patterns and go from there. If people were good at being random, fighting games would be impossible. 37 and 73 are the most common? Yeah, there you go. Thank you, mama. Yeah, there's a YouTube video about it? Yep, it was intentional? Oh, okay. It's okay, you still passed the captcha, good job. So, with that in mind, you can trick your opponent into thinking you're not falling into patterns by just having your pattern be very complicated, right? If you look at a 5-piece jigsaw puzzle, you can instantly, like, you can see the whole thing and instantly, like, you know, oh, this is a boat, right? But if you look at a, like, 10,000-piece jigsaw that takes, like, up an entire fucking wall, you have to kind of, like, look at it for a while before you can get the general, especially if it's, like, if you don't have all the pieces, right? If you're still trying to figure out how your opponent plays, right? You have to have a lot of those pieces or spend a lot of time before you can get that full picture and be like, oh, this is a Viking village, you know, enforcing the Dane law on like Northumberland or something, right? So to make myself a little bit more clear, because I kind of went off on a little bit of tangent there. The point is, adding pieces to that jigsaw puzzle is basically having more options that you are rotating through. So on one level, this is, you know, when you're playing defensively, don't just down back the entire time. Right? This is where like that's like layer 1. It's like I'm playing defensive. I'm just gonna down back and react. Okay, cool. That's like super at that point. That is super exploitable by your opponent, right? The second level is like, oh, I'm gonna actually like sometimes I'm gonna like hold some space, or maybe I'll throw some projectiles. I'll switch up my projectiles, and then actually every now and then you do have to actually like straight up run in on your opponent, right? Like hit it, like dash in, know when to turn it on, because then it starts rotating a lot through. You're rotating through a lot of options, and if you're trying to do as good of a job as your shitty, stupid human brain can do at rotating through those options, it actually becomes kind of tough to tell when you're going to do what. Are they going to down back right now? Are they going to 6XL at me? Are they going to jump at me? Are they going to 2M to hold space? Are they going to pillar? Are they going to M pillar? Are they going to L pillar? Are they going to Anitia? Are they going to, you know, U pillar? U Anitia? Right? Are they going to run up and do nothing? Are they going to run up and empty jump? Are they going to jump back? You're not going to be able to pick those options randomly. You are going to fall into patterns. There will be things that, yeah, dash up 2L, exactly. There are going to be things that you will do more often. But do you have a set cue to switch? Be careful with that, because if you do and it's obvious, your opponent will probably notice it. But this is why fighting games are fun, Ophidian, right? Because like like I mentioned earlier, with like one of the big things that factors in who should even baseline be the aggressor defender is resources, right? Like the hypothetical correct answer, which often doesn't exist, but the hypothetical correct answer depends. Do you have the health lead? How much meter do you have? How much meter do they have? How many brave points do you have? How many brave points do you have? What screen position are you in? What cooldowns do they have? What cooldowns do you have? How have they been playing so far? How have you been playing so far? And this is why fighting games are difficult, basically, right? The goal is to make your patterns, which you do have, seem random to your opponents. Yes, thank you, Azur. I get caught up in tangents sometimes, but yes, that is a great way to summarize what I'm saying, for sure, right? Because you will have patterns, because you do suck at being random, you and every other human on the planet. But if it's big and complicated enough, your opponent is probably not going to figure it out in a first to 2 set, right? Maybe even a first to 3 set. Maybe even that. This is why when you see long sets, things get sloppy fast. Because people have a hard time, like, when people are playing like a 19 game first to 10, you start to see some like weird shit. Because they have run out of like ways to be creative, and they are like cognitively drained, and they're just doing dumb shit. Because they're just like, I don't know how to be unpredictable anymore, so I'm just gonna do the same thing over and over and over and over again. And then when they watch the replay back, they're like, how did this even happen? Long sets are interesting. Sorry, Azur, you got it. But for anyone who isn't Azur, who is watching this as well, yeah, the idea is, you want to summarize the core idea. Azur's problem in both these replays, I think, was they were playing almost 100% defensively the entire time. And what that led to, the reason they felt they always got owned, they played defense, is because eventually anyone, if you're just kind of down backing and throwing out some 2Ms and some fireballs every now and then, anyone who's paying attention, who's looking at the screen, is going to figure out what you're doing and find ways to like probe your weaknesses and catch you off guard, right? And at the end of the day, the reward of like, actually getting in on you on a character like Versusia is very high, so when that happens, you die. So you have to switch up between playing aggressive and defensive, maybe with more of a bend towards defensive most of the time. That's kind of the character that you're playing, but going like 100% or 90% defensive is not a good idea. Now, let's go on to the next character, also a character that tends to play defensive until they get a big hit, and then they send you to hell. This is a 3-minute replay from Ghost here with Vaseraga. Let's see if they have... okay, yeah, no preamble. Let's see. Let's see what this is here. So if you're a replay I posted sometime later, it's really going to get into the nitty and gritty about this. Oh, interesting. Okay. All right, so this is Fairy Vaseraga, A-rank gameplay. Let's see how this... I mean, so this is funny, right? This is definitely funny enough. You might think, oh, it's Fairy, right? Vaseraga should be the attacker here, the aggressor here. And again, remember, what's going on, Visual? Ghost the Goat? Yeah. So remember, again, the aggressor-defender thing is based on round start, equal resources, equal brave points, no information on the opponent, right? So I'm assuming that you would think Vaseraga should be the defender here, or sorry, the aggressor. Actually, believe it or not, Soulforge is such a big problem for Fairy. Also, look, hey, what's going on, Kuromaru? Hello. I'm also bricked up, but the camera doesn't go that low, so it's fine. Soulforge is such a big problem for Fairy that, like, funny enough, until Vas gets Soulforge, see you, Faith. Have fun with your bracket, good sir. Until Vas gets Soulforge, he is kind of the defender in this matchup, right? It is sort of Fairy's job to stay on top of Vas's head and not let him hit 5U. Once he gets Soulforge, yeah, then it's Fairy is fighting for her life, trying to keep Vaseraga away, and Vas is trying to, run in there and kill her. But, like, at round start here, Vaseraga is actually the zoner in this matchup. Like, Vas is the guy trying to get space and trying to find that hit, punish Fairy for overextending, and then hit 5U, and then it's time to party. So... It's a bit strange. Vas is a very strange character, right? Vas can flip a lot of dynamics on his head, just because of how good Soulforge is. He's like, Soulforge is a much worse, but it's a worse version of like Lucilius Blade level, right? In the sense that like even characters who want to be defensive normally kind of have to sit on Vaseraga's face to keep him from hitting 5U. Yeah, that's kind of the baseline analysis. Let's see how it actually plays out here. Okay, sure. I like 2U. I also play me some Vas, so I can give a little bit more detail on some of this. I think they were trying to anti-air with that U tackle. Like, I see the vision. Don't do this. Yeah. So real quick, don't do this. This is just unsafe, right? Vaseraga U tackle or H tackle in the corner is -5 on block. People who know can straight up close L punish you for this into a combo, depending on how good their character's mid-screen is. Or if they have bad mid-screen, they'll back throw you and you die, right? After 5U Leroy? Yeah, exactly. Fair wants to pester opponents. This depends on how bullyable they are. And Vas is very bullyable without Soulforge and very unbullyable with Soulforge. So it's very important for her to keep him down before he gets it up. Ow. This is definitely like a light stance follow-up kind of situation, right? Like, I think maybe it was a misinput, maybe he just didn't react in time or whatever, but this is definitely a swat her out of the air situation here. You get a lot of damage if you do that too. Let me start. I'm gonna watch this first round again. I was talking a little bit too much, and I want to get a better idea of what's going on again. When you get hit, when you lose your turn, is a good time to check in on things. I like rolling through her options there. Immediately, it feels like a little too much EX tackle. Do not sleep on light and medium tackle. They're very good. I mean, this is nice for sure. Yeah, combo conversions with Voss are weird. Also, I'm not gonna harp on you too much for not like Voss has weird ass combos, and his conversions vary so much based on like spacing and height and stuff like that. So like obviously off that EX tackle you get like 9,000 damage, but I'm not gonna get on your ass for missing that in A rank here. Yeah, so don't do that for sure. Yeah, so far definitely more light to medium tackle is really good, because they're actually oftentimes plus on block, where H is usually minus on block almost always, and sometimes punishable on block too. Light tackle doesn't use up your armor, so it's kind of fake, but people like it's very hard to challenge, and then medium is real, right? It has armor, it'll barrel through everything Fairy does and kill her. Yeah, okay. I see the general idea that's going on here. Okay, there you go. There's some light tackle. This happened to be Indiana Jonesing over it. Does a counter on a punish, I believe. As Fairy's close cell is 6 frames. True, yeah, but again, every character can back throw Vaseraga there, so it's still a bad idea, right? Even most characters, even if they can close cell, unless they have really good mid screen, they won't want to close cell. They will rather back throw you, because then Voss spends his Soul Forge and is in the corner with no Soul Forge, right? So it's kind of like the worst case scenario for Voss often. I play on PS5. I can't get a rank game under 120 MS. It's hell. That's unfortunate, man. I'm sorry to hear that. I didn't realize that PlayStation was so rough. Ghost and Blue here are both playing on PlayStation as well. Yeah, I mean, people, it might work there, but again, it also puts your tackle on cooldown, which is a very important resource for you. EX tackle is also a great combo tool for you. Yeah, okay, so I've several notes already. Little things, right? Voss is a strange little boy. That's funny. But several things I think that can help a little bit more here. Ow. Sure. I like the 2U there. She was far enough away that it was a decent shout. Only way you get punished for that really is her maybe jumping over it. Yeah, this is throwable here. And if Fairy wasn't Fairy there, there'll be a punish as well. You would have possibly died right there. Yeah, I mean she's scared, so that's good, but I think that's it, right? Yeah, okay, so this is honestly more so a lot of Voss specific stuff I think that I can point out here, right? So let's talk about neutral and offense mostly, just because Vaseraga defense is weird, and honestly I'm not even that good at it still, right? And you didn't really get put in too many of those situations in that matchup anyway, so it's fine. So in neutral, I think something that you definitely could be doing more of, 2 things. Once, so you were very focused on getting Soul Forge up. That's great. Like that's very good. Like you were looking for spots to get your Soul Forge up quite often here. Honestly, even something after something like this Far H, for example, this is not safe technically. Fairy can smack you for this, but as like a heat check, as like are you like how passive are you being? You can just like after that Far H, you can cancel into Soul Forge, and you can sort of like sometimes get that shit for free. Fairy has big normals, so it's kind of scary, but so in general in neutral, yes, you get your Soul Forge up. This is great. Now, like realistically, as Vaseraga, you kind of become a bot when you do this. But the thing is, the thing you are auto-piloting to is so fucking strong that it doesn't really matter. Once you have Soul Forge up, just like do tackle at them and not heavy tackle. We talked about this, right? Light tackle or medium tackle, preferably light tackle. But if they start challenging it too much, then throw out some mediums to scare them, right? But you just light tackle at them, and then that makes you plus on block in their face with Soul Forge from almost any spacing where it's like reasonable to tackle. From like any further than round start distance, light battalions is plus like 2 at least, and it gets more plus the further out you go. Or you just go into stance and start walking at them, right? Once you get Soul Forge up as like a baseline, just do one of those 2 things, and you're probably gonna be like kind of cooking, right? With that in mind, so instead of like instead of this works, but it takes a cooldown down. If it gets blocked, you can be punished a lot of the time. I would rather see some light or medium. Even like, less, like you also is quite risky. Fairy actually probably can't punish it unless he spot dodges it, which people are not going to do that in A rank, right? But that kind of segues us to the other half of the situation, which is offense. And kind of, again, listen, man, Vas is a very centralized character. Vaseraga has one thing about him that is incredibly strong, and the rest of him is fine. And that one thing is armor and stance. So, like, if you're in someone's face like this, find some way to get Soulforge up. If you, and you know, even if you don't have Soulforge up, honestly, you can still do this. But like, you know, you have Soulforge up and you're in their face, you should basically just be running stance RPS most of the time, right? Go into stance and walk at them. And this is where something you almost never did outside of one time where they were airborne, right? Use command grab, and specifically light command grab, right? Vaseraga light command grab is sort of what enables his entire game plan as a character, because light command grab is unreactable, aka it makes your opponent scared to just down back, which is good because everything else Vaseraga does loses to down back. So, but at the same time, Vaseraga kills the opponent for mashing on him or jumping on him when he's in stance. So light command grab, we love unreactable mix. Yeah, exactly. You're one of the few characters with unreactable mix in the game. Use it, right? Light command grab is an unreactable, unblockable move. So if your opponent wants to not get command grab to death, and it loops into itself, right? You can just command grab, command grab, command grab. If they never jump or that backdash in the corner here, you can command grab them 9 times in a row and they'll die, right? So if your opponent wants to not get grabbed, they have to jump, they have to backdash. And if you don't command grab when they do that, and you instead hit them with like the light stance follow-up, that should be your default stance follow-up, by the way. It's the fastest one, it's plus on block out of EX stance, it's not that minus on whiff, you get huge combos off it in the corner. That should be your default stance follow-up. It's the light one, the big like upward swipe. So if they jump, and you light stance follow up them, then you do like a shit ton of damage. And like, don't worry about the optimal conversions, but like even just like auto combo into fireball or something after you hit them with that stance, it's like 4 or 5k. It's pretty scary, right? It beats people trying to roll, which is the other counter to stance. You can roll into the light stance follow up, I'm quite certain. But it recovers quicker, I guess, is what you're trying to say. Yeah, so on offense, basically, light command grab people. You didn't do it a single time to this fairy, and then just be in stance more often, I think, right? So those are sort of, I'm going to keep it relatively simple here just because we're talking, must not worry, the grab, I mean, sorry. Oh, yes, you're right, yeah. But yeah, so that's kind of the basic idea here, I think, is just like, understand that the character you're playing is not a nuanced, well-rounded character. You are playing an armor bot. Vaseraga is a strong armor bot, don't get me wrong, he's good in this patch, I think. He's not as good as some people think he is, I think, but he is strong. But yeah, you are an armor bot. So, your number one focus at all times is, do I have Soulforge? It's a flowchart. It's a very good flowchart. Do I have Soulforge? If no, get Soulforge. If yes, light battalions or M battalions or stance into walk at them menacingly, especially against a character like Fairy, who doesn't have good answers to you just like going to stance and doing this. She doesn't have like that many 3-hitting moves unless she wants to spend U skills or like GG, which is punishable on reaction if you're just walking at her, right? So light battalion, if you have Soulforge, light battalions, M battalions, or stance up at them. And then are they in the corner? It's honestly the same fucking thing. Like hit any button into stance, EX stance, and then RPS them from there. Light command grab them or light stance follow up them, and you will win a lot of games like this. People are gonna brave counter into your stance too in lower ranks because they don't know. And when they do that, you just get counter hit whenever the fuck you want and they die, right? Do not play Vaseraga like a well-rounded character. Play him like the very strong armor bot that he is. Armor is your whole thing. Stance is your whole thing. Stance, RPS, and command grab is your whole thing. Go from there. Otherwise, I mean, you won this set. But I think that's the fundamentals of Vaseraga that'll help you a lot as you sort of try and climb up the ranks, right? Yeah. I think that's gonna do it for the first replay review right here. Yeah. We'll do 2 more. So we're gonna do 1 more video, which for stream means 2 more replays here. But let me just send the VOD watchers on their way real quick. Also, U-Tackle Fairy barely does any damage. I mean, he was doing that, yeah. But in general, probably like using U-Tackle as a neutral tool like they were doing is probably a little much. Probably a little bit too much U-Tackle like in neutral to just like close space. If you're gonna do that, just do light or medium instead. If you want armor, you know, do medium instead. For against most characters, it's the same. It just doesn't cost 50 meter and it's plus on block. So, cool. VOD watchers, hello, hi, hope you had a good time with the video. If you did, any kind of likes, subscribes, comments, bells, all that good stuff helps out a lot. You know how it be. I also do stream every day from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern, except for Fridays, so come by and hang out, Twitch or YouTube. I also have a Discord. You're looking at it right now. If you want to post replays, it's a great place to do so. People will get to it before I do, but my backlog is also closing. So, you know, it's less than a month. November 19th, October 21st. So this is the shortest it's ever been. Of course, again, for the VOD watchers, it's like January for you right now, but don't worry about it. It's because, you know, just come to the stream, then you won't be behind. Yeah, if you do join the Discord, then be nice, or I will shoot you in the head in Minecraft. Most importantly, hope you had a good time hanging out today, as always. I know I sure did. Having a lot of fun with these replay reviews. Going to be a lot more coming your way. And until then, I will see you in the next one. Peace.